So now we discuss everyone's favorite other team, the team with the most excitement around preseason for sure. And we'll have
I,
Ishan share his views initially. Yes,
instead
Varun,
of
go ahead.
other one's favorite team, it would be most comical team in the transfer.
Oh,
I mean, it's given us a lot
it
of
brings you joy. Yeah, it
give,
brings you joy.
has given us a lot of memes for sure. So
This
Sure.
is the most
So,
exciting time for a Chelsea fan where there's no football, only transfer market news. I th- I think we do the best here and the worst while playing football.
did you just say you
But
do the
yeah,
best here?
uh, for the fans to hear, it's better than watching Liverpool preseason games and not hearing about any signings, right?
Uh, Fair enough. Fair enough. That's one way to look at it.
We have to find some positivity somewhere. Then that's why I think Chelsea has bring in a new manager, Enzo Maresca, who was like a right hand of Pep Guardiola before moving to Leicester City, and they have bet big on him, signed, given him a 5 year contract with a decent salary, and I think. We are in this position every season, right? Like for the last few seasons, every time we sit to discuss about Chelsea before a season, we are always talking about a new manager, the new system. But I think this time they are more firm and the execution has been better. The sister clubs like RC Strasbourg and even the academy has been given the instructions to play the kind of football which the senior team is planning to adapt to. So that's a good move, I believe so. So they have been asked to adapt to a system wherein it's more about possession based, the fullbacks going to the midfield. So the kind of system that we are planning, it's good that even our breeding grounds are on the same, are aligned in the same way. So that's a good move. Again, coming back to the point that I spoke to Rahul bhai about, signing Premier League proven players. Someone like a Pedro Neto, who always had that potential but never made it big because of the injuries. Had it not been for the injury record, I am sure the potential was to be 100 million player. But that pulled him back. Even the kind of system he was playing in Wolves, who always struggled for goals. If he had played in a better system, I think his numbers and his stats would have said a lot more about him. So again, I'm very excited about this signing. A versatile player, left-footed, who can play as a 10, a left on the left wing and on the right wing. And by saying left-footed, that doesn't mean he's actually good on both the feet. Not like someone who can just play on the with his left foot. He's good with his right feet as well. Again, injuries is something which is very concerning, but hopefully we do something about it. Even the medical team at Chelsea has been uh, is new now. So they have brought in new doctors and physios to take care of the players. They have signed a Brazilian wonder kid this in this window named Estevão Willian. He's the most expensive transfer from the after Neymar from the Brazilian league, and he's supposed to be the next big thing. He's a left-footed right winger, and some of the goals that I've seen him score in those highlights is amazing. Like he's the next big thing definitely, and he's supposed to join next season. So with Esteva Willian and Kendry Paez, the another Ecuadorian kid, again plays on the same position, right wing, and can play as a 10 also. Plays regularly for Ecuador, starts regularly for Ecuador. So I think Chelsea, in a way, is not looking like, I wouldn't say not looking to be a club of today, but they're really taking the matters of future now. Like the kind of players that they are signing for the future, they are trying to be like trying to dominate English football in the next 5 years. I think they want to reach there because they realize that it's a very slow process. But the kind of talent we are signing, again, another Argentinian centre back we have signed, Aaron Anselmino. He was really highly rated. Again, Boca Juniors. I am not saying that signing highly rated players will, lead to anything in the future. It's like signing 5 or 6 great talents and then maybe 2 or 3 come through. If
So
these
just
20 million signings have the potential to be the next 80 million or 100 million signings, then we have done something great. But it again, Chelsea have sold most of their academy graduates, which is not setting a good precedent. That's why leading to all the academy wonder kids move to different clubs like Rio and Gumoa. Then there's one more kid who City signed. So signing academy, because of the PSR rules, every club is forced to sell their academy talent. So I think there's some need to rejig that rule. But we are we are selling our academy players like anything. Matson has left, Lewis Hall has left, Broya will leave, Chaloba will leave, Gallagher almost left, but now let's see what happens. But it's not a good sign for the club in the longer term. But exciting times, but again concerning as well. In my opinion, Nkunku will be a new signing this season. Lavia was fantastic during the preseason. He's too good. We watch out for him if he gets minutes, which is difficult considering Enzo and Caicedo are there. Very difficult. But Lavia can get good minutes. And when I talk about transfers leading to club upgrades, I think these players are young enough that they will upgrade themselves also. Someone like a Palmer, someone like Levi Colville. These guys are young. They can really upgrade the team. They upgrade their game, which leads to upgrading the team. So I am very bullish on Chelsea, but again, I'm a fan, so very biased. But I think if Enzo Maresca's ideas are put to action, we have very good depth, like highest depth in the squad, and we are looking to sell some players. But I think we are trying to make a team which is ready for a lot of games during the season. And getting Champions League football is non-negotiable, I think now. We have spent so much money, we have got in so many new managers. Getting the Champions League football is important in two terms. I think revenue-wise also, and also getting new talent. Having that pull power to attract good talents to come to Chelsea, we need Champions League football for sure. And retaining our talent also. Someone like Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, all these players have to be motivated to play Champions League football. If they keep failing regularly, they will look for options elsewhere. So Champions League football is the priority. Let's see.
I think
So
Rahul wants
unlike
to say something.
Ishan, yeah, I think Rahul also wanted to say something, and I would like to weigh in as well.
I think so. The initial 3 signings that Ishan told is the specific problem with Chelsea, right? All 3 signings in the same position, similar player, right-footed, left-footed, right winger. I don't see how it will be a correct structure. And with Neto, you're saying that okay, injury prone, definitely very talented, but we have seen. I have, as Man United fan, suffered with Luke Shaw. You, as Chelsea fan, have suffered with Reece James. Neto is a very, very risky signing. It's like if you're playing blackjack, you're on 17, 18, and you still go for a hit, hoping for a 4-3-2-1. But how likely is that, right? It is not very unlikely for an injury-prone player to be a consistent player. It's a very huge risk.
I think Arsenal was looking at
It
Neto
is.
for a while as well, but we didn't kind of
Yes,
go ahead
yes,
with him because of the same reason. His injury record is very
Mm.
patchy. And a
yes.
big risk if you're signing for us, like making him your marquee signing of the season, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
We needed an upgrade on the wings. So Mudrik and Sterling, Mudrik again, Arsenal can come to rescue us and take him away like they did for Havertz because they were highly linked to Mudrik and the deal was almost done. So please, Varun, can you contact the
Another
authorities and ask them to come and take
another
him?
example of player which is very good in the other leagues, but probably not
Yeah,
as good when he comes
Yes.
to EPL.
But other leagues
correct.
also, Ukrainian league, he was very new to it. He had hardly
Mm.
played few games, and it was just insane to pay so much money for him.
Yeah.
It was bad business.
So I think, Ishan, if you look at that context, right? So again, let me spend 5 minutes to explain the structure, what has happened. We had a very stable set structure under Abramovich. When I'm saying structure, I don't mean the management team, but at the back end. Roman Abramovich was hands-on. Marina Granovskaya was extremely involved. Petr Cech
Mm.
was a great technical person who was linking both the management to the board. We
Mm.
had people around the club, like the structure was so great. There was a person by the name of Neil Bart who was the head of recruitment of youth football and director of youth football for the last 15 years, if I'm not wrong.
20
There was
years,
an
I think,
ex
more.
20
Yeah.
years. So
Jim
there was an
Fraser.
excellent Jim Fraser. There was an excellent structure at play. And when
Mm.
the new ownership came in, overnight everything started to change.
Yes.
Abramovich, of course, had to go. Granovskaya left. Then we had the entire youth team structure be a little disrupted. We let go of Tuchel, who at that point of time for me was one of the best managers that Chelsea
Yeah.
had since Conte. And then
Yes.
post that, we never recovered from that. The
Mm.
signings. So I would say the difference between a Glazer ownership and a Boli ownership is that I feel the Boli ownership and the Blueco consortium, they are actually good people and their intent is good.
Yes.
Because it's a new subject to them, they have not been able to take the right decisions, at least from the last couple of seasons' point of view. And it
Yes.
seems to be snowballing. So let's say the decision to appoint Poch was, let's say, controversial in some ways, based on many factors, whether it's his previous Spurs connection or whether the fact that he has not won anything significant. Uh, and they supported him throughout the season. And when finally things actually started to turn around, that's when they decided that no, maybe we need a new man in place. Now, Maresca is actually a very, very, uh, I would say, not the biggest signing which I would have wanted as a Chelsea fan because
Yes.
one, he has never competed at a top level. Yes, he was an assistant to Guardiola, and I think now most of the teams in the world are seeing that strategy work and try to learn from that. But if I look at it objectively, he has managed Leicester City in the championship. A championship gameplay and a Premier League gameplay cannot be compared. In preseason, we have seen some of the ideas which he wants to implement, and those ideas in the Premier League can be super risky. If
Yes.
there is a situation wherein the defender and the keeper are not in sync, you can basically leak goals in a very big manner. And if we start losing 4 5 games in a row, it creates immense pressure on the management. So what I feel is, I think we have a lot of gaps in our working right now. And even if we look at the players that we've signed, if we go from back to front, we've signed Philip Jorgensen 1 year at Villarreal. Uh, Only reason because he's good with his feet. But that
Mm.
cannot be a reason why you sign a player. And we've spent over 20 million for him. We've signed Tosin from Fulham on a free. Uh, no negative comments, but again, he's not going to upgrade our defense. Right? We've lost Thiago Silva, who was a rock for our defense over the last 4 years, and we've not really replaced him. We've signed Renato Vega, as a backup left back when we have left two of our best left backs to go to other clubs in Lewis Hall and Ian Matson. Chilwell, who is again a very, very good left back, seems to be out the door. In terms of midfield,
Not
we
good
have,
anymore, Yuvi.
I think, subjective. If you, again, he has not got chances over the last couple of seasons consistently because of injuries. But when he actually plays, he does reasonably well. But yes, every player individually can be debatable. Then
Mm.
Pedro Neto is a very interesting one because, like Rahul mentioned, like if I look at it specifically, Kenji Paez, Ecuadorian wonder kid, Estevao Willian, brilliant player, next big thing coming from Brazil after Endrick.
Mm.
We have Cole Palmer, we have Noni Madueke. We've got every single player with the same characteristics in the same position. Now, unless we change our dynamic and we change our style of play, either we are going to move this player on for a profit or we are going to have to use players in their non-preferred position. So maybe someone like a Cole Palmer becomes a number 10 or a forward for that matter. Uh, Estebao Willian becomes the winger next season. Or let's say a Kanji Payers becomes a number 10. Maduoki may be out the door. And Pedro Neto, honestly, I don't see him as a right winger or a number 10 at all. I see him specifically for that left wing position, wherein his only job is to create a one-on-one imbalance and put the ball in the center for a forward to hopefully finish.
Yes.
And I think his injury record is definitely very important to look at, because if he does not feature for as many games as we would like him to in the best form, then in that position, we either have Sterling or we have Mudryk. There's a good possibility that one of them may actually be moved on. And even if, let's say, we don't have that kind of attacking influence on that section anymore. So I think what is happening right now is, I think even if we have, like, as a Chelsea fan who has been following since 2001, literally, I think we have signed many mediocre players who are not adding to a particular structure in the
Yes.
team. So that is the biggest problem for Chelsea at the moment, and that's why I don't see us finishing top four this season by any stretch of the imagination. I think we will be doing well to finish top six. And over a period of time, yes, I think because the intent of the ownership is good, I think we will come on the right track over a period of few years. But right now, I don't think it's the best time for us in terms of league position for sure.
But
And
when you sorry,
yeah,
when you
please go ahead.
speak about Kendry Páez and Esteva Willian, I don't think Chelsea management is looking them to start in the senior team next season. It's very
I
difficult.
agree.
Even
I agree.
Vinicius and
Correct.
Rodrigo took so many years to
Correct.
finally integrate into the Real Madrid team. So I think they are probably looking at 27-28 season or something like that. They can be
Fair
squad
enough.
players initially and then try to be the start players. And when you are planning for so many years down the line, you don't know if Cole Palmer will stay with us. The things are very fluid in football. You don't know Noni Maduaki was already on the market. I recently read.
I think Newcastle is having a link with him right now.
Yes. So, matlab, Esteva and Kendry are players who will join us next season, but they are in plans for us for next after 3 years or maybe 4 years. That's why they are given long contracts.
So the problem is that if you look at our squad right now, if you look at the spine of the team, we have spent over 120 million on different keepers. And I don't think we have a keeper in
Yeah.
place who can help us compete for the top four. We have spent again over 150 million for strikers, and I don't think we have a forward in place who can help us compete for the top four. Only the midfield is something which I am very bullish on, because I think despite the overinflated price, a Caicedo, and Enzo, and a Lavia are actually very, very good in their roles, and they are
Yes.
adaptable to kind of different roles as well in that system. And we've been lucky with the likes of Cole Palmer, who's been brilliant. Otherwise, it would have been a very big mess for us. Nkunku, like you mentioned, coming back is a good sign for us. But again, given his injury record, it's very difficult to imagine him playing consistently throughout the season. Like, he's essentially always injured. Even in his Leipzig days, he was injured a lot of the season in the last season when he was there. So I think for us, the biggest problem is I would have rather spent 100 million or 80 million on a very, very good forward or a goalkeeper, rather than stockpiling goalkeepers and forwards and seeing one of them succeed. Because I don't think that model works. Either we sign someone like a Guiu, who we signed for 5 million from the Barca Academy, and we give him time and we allow him to develop, which is a perfectly good model. But like, for example, when we were linked to Samu Omorodian, a person who is not even playing for Atletico, a person who's not even playing for the Spain Olympics team, if we are spending 35 million on raw talent, it's not the good model for where we are right now. So I think the signings have not been prioritized for the right positions. And I think because of that, I don't see us competing for the top four this season.
To your point, just in general, right? It just seems that there's lack of planning, right? Like, you guys are signing players without actually going to the drawing board and understanding, okay, this is where we are lacking um, the players, we are lacking talent in this position and targeting that position. You guys are just looking at, like, okay, this is a good player, we want to sign it, we want 3 year, we want to give him some time, in spite of the fact that you might already have like three players in that position, you will still sign him. I mean, I don't think that is the correct way about going things. I think it's rather you would want to identify what is the weak point in the team and then target that weak point and identify players for that weak point, rather than just going for any new wonder kid or any new potential that is there, irrespective of where he plays or which position he kind of plays. I mean, I think it's just lack of planning. I think it's too
So
haphazard.
Varun, When
Uh,
Madrid signed Vinicius and Rodrigo for like 40 million each or something in that zone, nobody was thinking about them in the next season. Everyone saw it after 2, 3 seasons that how it worked out, and it
Ishan,
worked out
so
really well for them.
there's a difference between couple of players and there's a difference between signing 10 such players, right? I think your team has stockpiled with a lot of players and a lot of like promising players and a lot of dead weight players all in the same positions, kind of a thing. I mean, I don't know what is your, as you said, like what is your goalkeeping situation right
So
now.
I'll give you an example. We
Forward
have
again.
Kepa. Yeah, so let's look at goalkeeper. We've got Kepa, a 72 million signing, who was loaned last season to Madrid, who may not keep that obligation to buy. It was an obligation, but they will not buy him because possibly Lunin will stay. We've got Sanchez, who came in from Brighton because we had signed Graham Potter once, and then based on that, his feedback, we had signed him. Then we had signed Petrovic, which was a club signing based on his overall feedback from the club scouting team. Then we have signed a new manager in Maresca, and Maresca is clearly not convinced with either Petrovic or Sanchez. That's why we saw, okay, fine, which is the goalkeeper which is similar to what Maresca needs, and we've signed Jorgensen. So that's why I'm saying I think what problem we are facing is three things. Number one, there are club signings, there are manager signings, and then there are specific holes which are still not being filled. Suppose I'll give you a very practical example. Maresca starts the season. The first game is against City. There's a good possibility that we lose that game. If after that, the next 3 or 4 games, or maybe let's say 5, 6 games, if we are not able to compete well, there is a good possibility that Maresca will get sacked. I don't see that 5 year contract holding any sort of validity because he is a very ideas oriented coach. He's a little bit like Sari. Like Sari was a great coach and he has excellent ideas, but to translate those ideas on the pitch, you need the right players and you need time to work with those players. Now, if Maresca is not able to implement those ideas in a faster manner and we don't get the results, suddenly Maresca will be out and then there's no future for Jorgensen either. So that's the problem that we are facing right now, wherein we have to really understand what we want to do as a structure, what we want to do as a team. And I appreciate what Ishan has said, and it makes a lot of sense that this is the first time wherein we are having the youth team as well as the sister team Strasbourg playing in a certain manner to mirror the first team at Chelsea, which is what City have been doing over the years, which makes a lot of sense. But if we translate it, Aj, I don't think the Chelsea fan base and the Chelsea ownership will stick with a manager if they are struggling in 15th or 16th position after 3 months of the season.
I think they'll bring in a manager who plays in the similar style of football.
I hope so, but right now there's not many managers who have the ideas of Maresca, right? It's a very, very dangerous game. It's not easy. Like, even if you look at pre-season, right? We lost 4-1 to Celtic. And the reason why we lost is because if the keeper is not confident on the ball and he can't play that position, imagine if suppose we go in with Jorgensen as a first team keeper and he gets injured and we don't have an adequate replacement there, then the entire system gets kind of upset because of that. So I think
So
it's too.
Jorgensen, it was impressive. I'll tell you, he was really good in the preseason minutes that he got. I don't know if he'll be the first choice or no. I think he deserves to be first choice. Robert Sanchez is horrible, but Jorgensen was pretty good. Like, but again, we lost all these games because of our defense. Defense is taking, I won't say they are bad, but they're taking time to adapt to the new ideas. They are not
It will
used to
take
it.
time. It will take
Yeah.
time. And you look at the player profile as well, right? You've got Levi Colwill, who's a 20-year-old kid. You look at Fofana, who's had two massive injuries over the last couple of
Yes.
seasons. You have Disasi, who's been out. You've got Badiashile, who's not in the best of form for sure. And you've got Tosin again, who is an average player signed from Fulham. So if you look at the player profiles, it doesn't reflect confidence for any sort of a big move towards the top four, right? So I think that's where the gaps are. I think we would have been better off selling a lot of players and looking at certain talents coming through the academy and building our team around that. What Arsenal did earlier with Saka, and other players like Martinelli was signing from the club, but again they built the base as that relationship. Similarly, United now with Garnacho and Mainu, they know these two players are the future, so they will build the team
Mm.
around it. For us, the players that were coming through were really good players. You look at someone like a Solanke. A Solanke has now gone to Spurs for 65 million, and he was a kid in the academy. You look at someone like a Musiala who went to Bayern when we didn't have a right roadmap for him to come through. So if we look at our youth team, I think it's completely been dismantled, and I think it'll take us time to come to a top four level again. Like I think at least 2 seasons we need to come there if we are able to stick with a manager.
Okay,
Chelsea
now,
for me,
yeah.
Chelsea for me have comfortably outspent everyone. Matlab, probably if you add up 2 or 3 of the big clubs, then you'll get to somewhere near of Chelsea's spending. But currently, as you is saying, I believe the back five is easily the worst in the top 6, and the top 3, the front 3, also can be debatably the worst. It's just the midfield where they can compete with the best there. I don't know how you can spend so much and still end up with such a squad. There's something.
It's the same thing, na, Rahul. At the end of the day, because of the ownership change, see, when a new owner comes in, they would want to yield their influence on the club, and they would want to look at marquee signings. And the first marquee signing which they made was a Raheem Sterling. Now, if you look at it logically, as a fan, it wasn't an impressive signing for us. But if you look at it from their point of view, he is a Man City player, proven winner, England international, has experience. He fit into that structure based on their thinking. Then the kind of players that then Tuchel change. And if the main manager changes, the other person who comes in, they have their own views, they have their own thoughts around what needs to be added to this team. So I think where we are lacking right now is we don't have that direction till now. Maresca seems to be going in the direction like what Ishan has mentioned, and I'll be happy if he is able to kind of be given time and able to kind of survive the initial rough waters. But we will require a big clear out, and we will require to focus on a few players and build our team around it. For example, right now, Cole Palmer is the key player for us. Unfortunately, we had Reece James who's been injured throughout, and I think his injuries are something which are not going away, so I don't think we can rely on him at all. Maybe a Levi Colwill for the future can be a great player for us. A Caicedo who genuinely wants to be at Chelsea seems to be a great player for us. Uh,
Enzo.
Maybe Enzo. So Enzo, my reading is that yeah, he will not stay if we don't get Champions League football for the next couple of seasons. I don't think he has that kind of patience to kind of stick to Chelsea. But a Caicedo, I don't think he will go because I think he genuinely is a fan of Chelsea. So players who are fan of the club, they may be better equipped to stay with the club during rough times. So we need to build our team around this now and see where we reach. But this season will be difficult for us for sure.
Okay,
Cole
so
Palmer is a boyhood United fan.
That's fine. See, he may be, but at the end of the day, you look at Harry Kane. Harry Kane was an Arsenal youth international. You look at Mason Mount, a boyhood Chelsea fan. So at the end of the day, it's not about when you start, it's where you end up. So someone like a Caicedo who is a fan of the club and he wants to be at the club and he will be willing to fight for the badge, it makes a big difference. That's why I think where I am facing a huge emotional disconnect with the club is selling the likes of Gallagher. Like I do understand we need to abide by PSR rules and we need to look at ways in which we can circumvent that. But a Gallagher is someone who represents Chelsea the way I would want it to be represented, right? A person who's been at the club since the age of 8, gives his 100% every single time. Off the field at Cobham, whenever he is, he takes time out to, sign autographs or take pictures. And he is someone who represents a Chelsea boyhood fan perfectly. And the way we have treated him, we have treated Chaloba. Chaloba, again, I don't know if you guys remember, the first goal he scored under Tuchel. It was a beautiful goal in his first start. And he started weeping because that's what it meant to him. And you don't find that with a lot of players these days. So I think by selling the likes of Chaloba, Broha, and Gallagher, we are actually weakening the team in a very big manner. Maybe not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Because that clear connection to the club is completely being lost. And it's gonna take time, yeah. It's not a problem which can be solved in a season. It's gonna take a couple of seasons to get there. But someone like a Cole Palmer seems to be someone we can build a team around now.
Yes. Maybe we find Nkunku that he has a breakout season if he stays fit. I saw him
Yeah.
play this in the preseason. He was really good on the ball, and I really like him as a 10 or a number 8 also. He was tried as a number 8, and I think he has a lot to contribute in the middle of the pitch than at the end of the pitch. So he can influence the game in a better way. Let's see. I think Nkunku and Palmer can be a good combination together. Hopefully Neto
think,
also. I have high
yeah.
expectations from him.
So my hope is that we finish hopefully in the top 6. I would not want to raise expectations beyond that. At this juncture, I would not be surprised if in the first 3 months we are 12th or 13th in the league, because it's going to take time for the system to come in. And if the manager changes, it may again go in a different direction. There's a good possibility there may be a knee-jerk reaction and we sign someone just to ensure that we don't get too below a particular standard this season. But let's see. It's always fun to be a Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
Infuriating, but fun.
There's
I think
always
in the
a
Premier League, position 2 to 8 is very fluid. Any team can land anywhere. Like
3 to
the
8, 3 to 8.
position 3 to 8, sorry. 3 to
Yeah,
8.
there is
correct.
always a pessimistic Chelsea fan for every pessimistic Arsenal fan.
I agree.